peace and love. Welcome back to tunjitalks, the home of I Have a First. I am your host, Tunji. In today's episode of Game Changers, we are looking at Tariq Nasheed. This video is brought to you by the text version of my one-man show, Whiteboard, Black Pieces, Race in the West. My play looks at what it means to be black in the Western world. To get your copy, click the Amazon link in the description down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Before I get started, can I make a deal with you? If you learn something new, or you feel motivated and inspired, can you subscribe and share this video with 2 people? Deal? Okay. During this series, I have looked at 4 individuals who I believe are game changers. The 4 individuals are Dame Dash, Belanley Austin Peters, Tyler Perry, and Tariq Nasheed. All 4 have left a distinct impression on the entertainment industry, and all 4 still have a lot to achieve. I cannot wait to see what they do next. All 4 of the aforementioned game changers inspire me. How does the series work? I give you a breakdown of the game changer in each episode, then I show you clips of that game changer dropping gems. A lot of great information is going to be shared, so I need you to take notes, save this video, and share it. It will be worth it. I would like to share with you one of my favourite Tariq Nasheed quotes. When other people tell their history, they come across as being patriotic. When other people talk about where they come from and who they are and what their history is, that's called patriotism. But when African Americans do it, or when black people do it, they're labelled as being militant. They're called rebels. They're Afrocentric. So that's the big difference. Our history, for some reason, it becomes offensive to people. So we have to stop being afraid of what our true history is. I'm just getting started. If this quote just resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. Who is Tariq Nasheed? Tariq is an author, writer, director, and producer. Tariq is also in the process of acquiring land to build an unapologetic Black History Museum. Tariq came to prominence when he made the Hidden Colours documentary series. He recently released a documentary called Buckbreaking. He is in the process of making a new documentary on the Maroons. He has just released a new book called Foundational Black American Race Beta, My Journey into Understanding Systematic Racism. The Hidden Colours documentary series is incredibly popular, and in my opinion, every black child on the planet needs to watch the Hidden Colours documentaries. Why? Because too many of us are expecting schools to teach our children who they are. Sorry to break it to you, but if you have a child, it's your responsibility to teach them their history. I'd like to share with you a quote. If you send your children to Caesar, don't be surprised if they come back as Romans. Did you know that Tariq Nasheed is banned from the UK? It's a direct result of Hidden Colours 5. If you'd like to know more information, head over to Tariq Nasheed's YouTube channel. He did like a whole video on how the whole ban came about. Really interesting, so I will definitely check that out if I was you. Would you like to support the channel? Great. There are 2 ways you can go about this. On the Cash App, #tunjitalks. That's #tunjitalks. That's #tunjitalks. Or on PayPal, paypal.me/tunjitalks. That's paypal.me/tunjitalks. That's paypal.me/tunjitalks. As I mentioned earlier, Tariq Nasheed does a lot. He has his own production company. As you may have noticed, all of the game changers I have presented to you own their own businesses outright. As a result, they are able to make and produce authentic content that resonates with an audience. Tariq does weekly live videos on his YouTube channel where he talks about the week's most pressing issues. I'm about to play the clips of Tariq Nasheed dropping gems, so please get your notepad and pen.
I got an author, a lecturer, a director, filmmaker, Tariq Nasheed, Hidden Colours.
Yes, sir.
How did that come about? And what made you say, you know what? I need to put this information out here for my people.
You know, what made me want to do that, man, is just watching the plethora of shows that we see on the Discovery Channel, the History Channel, the American Movie Classic Channel. We see history nonstop on television, in movies, the movies 300, Alexander, but we never see our story. The black experience, it's like it don't even exist beyond slavery and civil rights. So I wanted to fill in that blank and tell the real story about our history from our perspective so that it can be told correctly.
That's right.
So that's the thing that brought it about.
What has been the reception to Hidden Colors ever since you started dropping them?
Man, when the Hidden Colors documentary first came out, we didn't know what the response was going to be. I remember being in the movie theater when it first came out, and I'm like in the back, like biting my nails. Like, this is going to sink or swim right now because we put a lot of money into it, which a lot of folks don't do. That's another thing, man. A lot of us, man, we don't put no money into black history. So this is why our story doesn't get told on a grand level. But I got the money together, put it out there. And when the movie came out, people just flipped out, man. They were just shocked that this information was out there. Now, a lot of us who are conscious, we knew about the John Henry Clarks, the Dr. Benz, and all that. But we live in a culture now where we need information fast. We live in the music video culture. But a lot of people don't want to read books these days. That's a reality. That's a reality. So I put all the information that we've been learning from some of those great scholar warriors in bite-sized nuggets so that everybody can see it and grasp it and relate to it.
What made you get the cast of intellectuals that you got on there together? How did you go about picking the people to speak?
Man, I got a lot of folks that I admired. Like Frances Cress Welsing, that woman she's like an idol to me.
That's right.
Man, brother Phil Valentine, brother Booker T. Coleman, who's now Kaba Kamene. I got a great young brother, Umar Johnson. These are people that I watched and I studied and I admired, and I got them in the films, man, and they just... I introduced a lot of these people to a brand new audience. Yeah. Because some of these brothers and sisters, they stopped lecturing. Yeah. Because they lectured during the 80s and the 90s, so they kind of retired. So I got a lot of them out of retirement, put them out there for a new audience, and now they're touring all over the country these days, brother. Exactly. Not just the country, all over the world.
During your time of doing your researching and, interviewing and stuff like that, what were some of the things that kind of shocked you when you were starting to uncover all of these hidden colors?
You know what, when I would travel a lot. That's another thing that made me want to do the film. When I would travel myself personally and go to different countries, I would see an African presence in certain places that I never knew we were there. I would go to places like Hawaii and see people who look like we look over here. That's right. I would go to parts of Asia and see people who look like us. And I would wonder, how come they don't show these people on TV? So that let me know that there was some type of conspiracy to hide this information, to hide this knowledge. And that made me want to dig deeper. And when we were doing the Hidden Colors film, a lot of our information is literally buried in museums around the world. That's right. People were very shocked that I would even ask for the information. Because in Hidden Colors, you notice we have thousands of images. That's the thing. We back up everything with images, documents, facts, and the whole nine. So we would go to museums and dig all this stuff up that was literally buried. That's why we call it Hidden Colors. And some of the stuff shocked me.
What was some of the resistance that you faced trying to get that information? Because I know people couldn't just be giving that stuff up willingly.
Man, they make you pay for it, I'll tell you that, man. They make you pay for it. Some of those pictures and paintings and stuff, they're like, okay, what do you need this for? What's this for? And we kind of downplayed it, like, this is like a student film. We kind of downplayed it a little bit, but they still made us come out the pocket for that information. Man, there are books out there. For example, I got some books from Harvard, some old history books that cost like $300-400 each, man. That's right. So the books that it's buried in, it's very expensive. So a lot of folks don't want to pay that money, but we went on and did it and got the information.
Now let's get to group economics.
Yes, sir.
You were talking about the financing of the film and stuff like that. I know you had to go through some group economics just to get that done.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. What we did, man, Kickstarter had just popped off. Because we did the first Hidden Colors. We started in 2010. It was released in 2011. Kickstarter just popped off. Not too many people knew what that was. I said, okay, I'm going to use this forum to get some of the money for this documentary. So we got half the money off Kickstarter. I funded the rest. And we just took off from there. And we continued to use the Kickstarter forum to raise the money, some of the money for the film, because it takes a lot of money to make a movie. People think that you just get a camera and point. Man, I'm out here filming now, flying a camera crew around the country, and driving and traveling and hotels and then you got to pay the people, then you got to pay for the images and then you got to do reenactment scenes. That goes up, man. That's why movies are so expensive. So a lot of folks don't get that.
Yeah.
But it pays off in the long run. I'm not complaining because we need this information, man. This generation, nobody has taken the time to really think about what the next generation needs to learn. And this is why I did it for the next generation, so they can get the information and run with it and build with it.
Now, when it comes to economics, as small business owners and entrepreneurs, that's one of the biggest issues is trying to get that capital.
Yeah.
Where can we as a people go and find that capital to get stuff off the ground?
We can find it in our own pockets because we have it, brother. I was talking to brother Dennis Kimbrough.
That's right.
He's going to be in Hidden Colors 4. That brother is a beast with the information.
Yeah.
Because when we do these movies, we not only show history, we show solutions, and we talk about the economic solution. So we were talking today about how we spend trillions of dollars collectively as black folks. The way we spend more money than certain countries, entire countries, the black population in America. So all we have to do is aggregate the money and start spending it on each other, and that's the answer. Our thing is we got the turn up mentality. You can turn up every now and then, but let's handle our business, then turn up. Let's get a business going, then turn up. If we can raise all the money to go down to All-Star Weekend and Black Bike
You
Week,
in Atlanta right now, the strip club.
man, all that strip club money, it could be all types of businesses on Peachtree with black faces inside of them. So we have the money, but we have to stop tricking it off all the time.
You ain't lying.
You know, trick it off when you build something. I ain't knocking your trick bill. Just build something, then trick it off. Don't do it in reverse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Question, how do we get our people to understand and really digest the knowledge that you're putting out here? Because a lot of stuff, it goes over people's head. Even though you put it really in black and white and there's no excuse for them not to understand it after they watch the documentaries and stuff like that. But how do we get the average brother that doesn't have a clue at all of what's going on to say, you know what? This film or this information is going to make me start a business and change my life and do better about my family and things like that.
And the thing is, what we do, we need enough people to say that because then that's what's happening. When enough of us start doing something, it'll be a trickle-down effect. The ball will get rolling. Remember, man, any revolution, man, everybody wasn't down with revolutions. When you look at Haiti, all the Haitians were not down with the revolution, but once those brothers and sisters like Toussaint Louverture, Boukman, and Dessalines, when they got the ball rolling, everybody else got on board.
That's right.
In the civil rights movement, man, most black folks were not down with the civil rights movement. There's a real big myth. They holler now. They're like, oh, I marched with Dr. Martin Luther King. I was in Selma. Everybody was in Selma. Now.
My grandfather is a preacher, and he was in it back then too. And he was like, B, I had 4 kids. He said, I couldn't go to jail. He said, I remember watching Dr. King catch hell trying to get his own people to support him and get the movement off the ground. So he was like, I had to respect him and his father because they were able to galvanize a whole culture to go out there and make a change for our people. Now, in Hidden Colors 2, you said there was a war being waged on people of color.
Yes, indeed.
Could you expound upon that for me?
Man, what we can see right now, man, when you see all these brothers and sisters out here getting beaten and killed by police officers, that's not a coincidence, bro.
Woo.
That's not a coincidence, and it's not fear. That's another thing. This whole nonsense about cops being afraid of black folks. Man, did you see when they shot Walter Scott? That cop wasn't afraid. That cop calmly looked over his shoulder and blew that brother away. That's not fear. That's warfare. Yeah. And we have to look at it like that. That's what we're talking about Hidden Colors for. This is a war that's going on. And we have to look at it that way and start thinking that way and get our money together to protect ourselves because that's what we can do now economically is protect ourselves.
So what do we do for our brothers that's locked down, and how do we prevent that from happening? And the ones that are in there, how do we help them to get out?
That goes back to economics. The reason why we're being targeted because we are economically weak and we're vulnerable and we do not aggregate our money, and they're going to target the weakest people. The jail system is a money-making endeavor. Let's understand that. Man, the private prison system is big dollars, man. They got certain websites where the prison system, they advertise their services to compete with China. They're like, don't use Chinese labor, use our labor. You understand that? A lot of times when you call people on like AT&T or whatever, I'm just giving an example.
Yeah, I'm with you.
A lot of times those are prisoners. Those are not East Indian Call centers. A lot of these call centers in prison now, so they use prison labor for a lot of stuff. It's mandatory to work in prison. A lot of folks don't know that. When you go to jail, it's mandatory to work, or you go to solitary confinement. So the prison industry is real big, and we're getting targeted because we don't have businesses. We don't have an economic base to buy the politicians, because when you buy the politicians, you can buy the police unions. And these police unions are very powerful. We see up in Baltimore with the prosecutor, the strong sister warrior came out and filed those charges against the cops. The unions are going after that sister heavy. The same day the unions, because we always overlook the unions, they put out a press conference saying, hey, we're trying to get her out of office, so we got to use our money to get these unions in check. And we also need to get black police unions. I was doing a lecture telling people about that, the importance of black police unions that we can fund so they can police our community so we don't get targeted and shot at.
Searching for history is a longtime passion for Tariq Nasheed, a documentary filmmaker and author. He's on the pursuit of uncovering and sharing untold African-American history. Today, he's taking us to learn about a former slave revered as the grandmother of L.A., Biddy Mason. Her memorial is tucked away on the ground level of a parking structure on Spring Street in downtown. You'd likely miss it just walking by.
This used to be her actual home right here. And they did a good job outlining the way the house looked. And this was one of the wealthiest homes in Los Angeles at the time. It was owned by a former slave, our good sister Biddy Mason.
Now, when you exit the parking structure and turn into the alley, there stands a timeline of her life. In the 1800s, Biddy went from slavery to becoming a wealthy real estate baron, owning property on what is now Spring Street.
The fact that she was enslaved, and also Biddy Mason was illiterate all of her life. All of the deeds that she signed, she would have to write an X because she just didn't know how to write, because at the time it was illegal for black people to learn how to read and write.
Although it's rather discreetly honored here, Tariq says her legacy remains relatively untold.
She was a major philanthropist. This woman was so important to the early stages of Los Angeles, but she's never talked about.
And these kinds of stories are hard to come by. Tariq has found much of black history is vague, untouched, or missing. Dr. Darnell Hunt agrees with Tariq. He says it takes a lot of digging to find the real hidden history of the black diaspora. As a sociologist and African-American studies professor at UCLA, he's been studying African-American history and quantifying it for over 25 years.
History is usually told by the people who won. So we live in a society where white supremacy is still operating, and most institutions are run and controlled by white people. So we don't often have control over our own narratives and our own stories.
And that's exactly what prompted Tariq to crowdfund over $1 million to purchase this property on Crenshaw Boulevard to build what will be called the Hidden History Museum. This museum will dive deep into the stories of African-American scholars, inventors, leaders, and artists that aren't traditionally recognized in American history.
So many people in our community, we're thirsty for the information. We know how important it is that we get information like this that will serve our needs and talk about our history and educate our children.
Because on the journey of self-discovery, you must know the history of your ancestors.
We have a global problem of systematic racism. And whenever we try to talk about racism, we always deflect into what's wrong with the black community. And we never talk about the real issue of racism and the real thing that drives racism, which is systematic white supremacy. And that's something that's never even spoken about publicly.
So apart from that, you said systematic white supremacy.
Yes.
But what's the real issue of racism? If it's not that the black community, and we all know many more black people are sent to prison, there are more economic problems, there's more violence, etc., etc. But what is the real problem you're saying with white supremacy?
White supremacy is a system that was set up to be designed to dominate people of melanated descent, and that's really what it's all about. So the symptoms of racism, which is economic deprivation, the prison industrial complex where black people are being funneled into that system, police shootings and police beatings, all of these are symptoms of white supremacy. And we never tackle the force behind white supremacy.
Why do you think that is?
Because I think people who are classified as white are the global minority.
And people who classified as white is less than 10% of the global population. So I think in the minds of some people in the dominant white society, in order to survive, we have, and I'm talking like a person who's a white supremacist, we have to dominate these people of color in order to survive. And that's been a problem for the last 500 years.
But even if you agree that that exists, as the world moves on and as emerging markets ramp up and become more developed, white supremacy can't possibly continue to exist with Africa emerging, with China, you know, really developing quickly. Won't that just change automatically?
Well, the thing is, the white supremacists are the people who are classified as white supremacists. So, white supremacist is just someone who believes that they should dominate people of color. They're still in power. You say that Africa is developing, but behind the scenes, it's the Western-owned banks that are controlling and pulling the strings of a lot of African nations, and they're still underdeveloping African nations and funneling the resources out of the African nations, and they will put in their puppet leaders, but you still have people who are classified as white running the scenes behind the scenes.
So just let me ask, because you've said we never really attack racism properly.
Right.
How do we attack racism, and what do you want to happen quickly?
Racism, we have to be very honest as to what it is. And this is why I use the term white supremacy, because there is no black supremacy. There is no systematic black racism. The only racism that has been sanctioned by laws is white supremacy. And that system has economically deprived people who are classified as black. So one way to correct that is to give black people resources that they deserve and that were maldistributed away from them, which could come in the form of reparations or any other type of benefit or set aside that the government has worldwide. And Hidden Colors, the series, it's the most popular African history documentary ever made, and we're very proud of that.
You're a filmmaker and a content creator, and you go out and you make films, and the premise, as we've discussed before, is that American politics is rooted in white supremacy. And you go out and you make films and you document that story. And now, with these cameras and these phone cameras, what you've been talking about as an artist and a filmmaker in your films suddenly is right in everybody's face.
And we've always warned people in black society that we're criminalized not because of anything that we've done. We're criminalized because of inherent systematic white supremacy. People in the dominant society are just not charged with certain things that black people are charged with.
Because what you're saying, and your documentaries dig into this, is providing a broader context for a conceit of American politics, which would come under the heading of white supremacist. And that's not something people want to confront. And it's something people would like to dismiss. But these Karen videos are really repugnant and confirm, this idea in quite stark terms. And I hope this starts to, get the dialogue to a much healthier place.
So, yeah, fire. Those clips are pure fire. Great stuff. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Do you want to see another Game Changers series? I plan to do a debrief episode where I go over the main takeaways from all of the Game Changer videos so far. Do you plan on watching the Hidden Colors movies now that you've watched this video? And what was your favorite Game Changer episode? I would really be interested. I have really enjoyed doing the Game Changer series. I hope you have enjoyed watching and gained something from this. I have one more quote for you. We have done so much with so little for so long that anything is possible. Some might not agree with that statement I just made, and to those people I say, we have always been great and we will continue to be great because we are game changers. I will leave you the same way I came to you, in love and peace.